anarcho-capitalist. But anyway.
Doesn't have enough homes. This line shows how many months it would take for the current supply of housing to run out. It's a measure of housing supply, and it's been dropping for a decade. And this line shows how housing prices have changed. They've skyrocketed.
It's gonna piss me off.
For rental units, the percentage of empty buildings is the lowest it's been in.
But if some people can't have their homes taken from them whenever wealthy people want, how will we separate the haves and the have-nots? Yeah, I know, I agree. Buna durum ne? Adam yaptı mı?
Three decades, while rent prices keep going up. But here's the thing. Often when new buildings go up in these places, people hate them.
It's hard to describe, but you know it when you see it. Gentrification building!
Most often, they're talking about new buildings like this. Boxy, modern, multifamily homes.
I saw one day that sort of hit me, and it was a TikTok that was showing this building in Camden, New Jersey.
That's Jerusalem Demzes, a VOX policy reporter.
You know, the comments ranged from a bunch of different things. There was people kind of deriding the building itself, saying that it was causing displacement, saying, get ready for a Starbucks to come and pop up.
Comments like this are a common narrative. To many, these buildings don't just look bland and artificial. They signal raised rents, displacement, and the complete transformation of a neighborhood to a place that's richer and wider.
So this is 100% true. What the fuck? So are they gonna like say that this is actually good though? Like what is this entire video?
But in this case, what happened next might surprise you.
I started kind of going around trying to find the specific location, walking around Google Maps, and eventually I find it, and I find the building, I look at the address, I look into property records to figure out what this building was, and not only is it new housing, it's actually new affordable housing.
Turns out there's a lot we get wrong about how we see new construction in the US.
Oh shit, Moodog in the building, Moodog in the house.
Big Vox fan, dude. They're gonna talk about 1+5s.
So you fucking literally you only watch Philip DeFranco, who America is about to enter into war with fucking Ukraine, and you only watch
with clickbait Twitch streamers.
Yeah, and you only watch Vox. You are such a fucking lib, dude. Holy shit, it's crazy.
Watching Vox doesn't make you a lib.
Vox is the most lib, and I mean lib not in a positive way. I mean liberal, not in the way that Republicans think are liberals. I mean liberal, straight up, you know, fuck the poor liberal.
Wait, what?
You know, people who uphold fucking property more above individual lives, like the lives and livelihoods of citizens.
Where are you getting this about Vox?
Vox? This is literally a video that is defending gentrification building, dude.
I mean, I haven't examined the undertones of of political ideology, but I am interested in
liberalism upholds private property that you can generate passive income off of above the interest, elevates private property above all. The entire civilizations, entire liberal societies have been built around upholding the principles of capitalism and private property, whether that private property concept extends to human beings, i.e. slavery, chattel slavery in the United States of America and its formation, or just straight up fucking enclosures and the defense of enclosures in the form of land and landlording. That's the heart of liberalism. Liberalism is built around a political ideology built around the defense of private property, which is exactly what Vox is going to be doing here, I think.
Okay, well, I like to learn about buildings. So, you know, that's not where I was going with this.
Ludwig made a counter video to Game Theory's video about you and React content. Oh man, nice.
Ludwig, a McDonald's guy?
Is he a McDonald's guy? I don't know. Maybe he has a McDonald's ad or something.
Whether it's DC, Oakland, or Austin, newer apartment buildings in the US have a distinct look, one that sticks out against older architecture. But these buildings don't look like historic homes for a reason.
This building is actually one of the cheapest ways to build an apartment building right now.
The design is strategic. According to reporting from Curbed, this kind of architecture is built to fit within restraints like cost, height limits, and safety requirements. It's why many of these structures are what's known as 5/1 or 1+5.
Or 1+5.
That means there are several levels of wood-framed construction, which usually contain apartments.
I know. And I've actually talked about how this is not always bad.
Oklahoma City?
But that's not bad. Oklahoma City is dog shit. There's nothing going on in Oklahoma City.
Don't hate on OKC, dude.
But it's true. It's true. You build all the fucking 1+5s you want. Build all the 1+5s you want when you're building it on a fucking cornfield. But gentrification is not that. Gentrification is also another form of structural violence in the form of the state coming in and fucking wiping out the pre-existing, wiping out the pre-existing population.
Slow it down. I get it.
That's different. And for the record, I don't even mind fucking taking down like single family units or whatever the fuck and building apartment complexes. But those apartment complexes need to be, again, sustainable and also affordable.
And is known as Type 5 in the building code. That's over one level with a concrete base, which...
And for the record, Murat's, I've talked about your place before. I think it was great. Awesome. For Oklahoma City, it's perfect.
So, I mean, I'm sure they destroyed like some... that I used to live in Deuce, I feel like saying.
Isn't that what it... Yeah, what was it like?
No, there was the area... Bricktown.
The
area I was in was Bricktown, and Deep Deuce was like the neighboring area. But like, you think about it as nice, but like they definitely kicked some people out to build those. They were very like, you know, bad neighborhoods. At least they claimed, right?
Was it? I don't know.
No, so Deep Deuce apparently has like a history of jazz in like the Midwest or whatever.
Okay, so it wasn't a bad neighborhood. It was a black neighborhood.
Sure. I mean,
it was a black neighborhood that turned into maybe a bad neighborhood.
Correct.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, so, you know, gentrification...
That is gentrification.
Took over Oklahoma City in full force in the last, like, 20 years.
I was wrong. I guess it wasn't good.
Yeah, but you just saw the post-execution area, right?
Well, the reason why I thought it was all right is because it's Oklahoma. So I thought...
Dude, is not barren lands.
No, I know, but, like, there's plenty of fucking... there's plenty of city to go around in Oklahoma because there's no one. Like, there's no one there. So I just personally assumed that it was just fucking nothing there, and then they built.
Dude, it's in the middle of downtown. Come on.
I know, but the fucking middle of downtown is nothing. Still, that downtown is not a real downtown. There's no one there.
Yeah. So I appreciate
Oklahoma Andy here. Bricktown is Oklahoma gentrification. Okay, that's not good.
But we literally said that.
Okay, now that I found out that it was still displacing people.
You hate the gentrification in Oklahoma City.
Well, yeah, because that's the point. Because I didn't realize it was gentrification. I thought it was just like building it on a fucking cornfield. That's the whole point.
No, it's not a cornfield.
Have you ever been to OKC? Of course I've been to OKC. He lived in OKC, and I visited him multiple times. And
I'm literally wearing a shirt from Oklahoma with the Oklahoma state on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, with the finger.
Yeah. It's actually from a church. Anyway. Yeah, no, I mean, as far as like an engineering perspective,
this guy says no Hollywood equals nothing wasteland. Dude, you are spoken like a person who's never been to Oklahoma. Okay, motherfucker, the entire
socialism is when no Hollywood.
First of all, no, dude, Oklahoma is literally a nothing wasteland. There are towns with like 52 people living in them.
There's places in like Kansas that you have to like drive 4 hours to get to.
But yeah, what are you talking about? Like so, Oklahoma like, is literally a nothing.
Don't hate on OKC, dude. OKC's got like 7 Walmarts.
Okay, well,
I'm just saying, dude.
Oklahoma City is straight up a city that they fucking built by oil barons built specifically so they could bring people like Murat into the city to live there. And it still fails, in my opinion.
No, they're doing pretty good, actually.
So is in Nebraska real quiet right now.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. Oklahoma and Nebraska hate... Well, Nebraska hates Oklahoma. Oklahoma hates Arkansas
Texas.
Arkansas and Texas.
I thought Oklahoma hated Texas. Texas hated Oklahoma.
If we're being honest, Texas is like... Oklahoma is just, you know...
You're about to get posted to the Oklahoma subreddit again. They really hate you there. Oklahoma subreddit. What? They have internet, dude?
Dude, they probably got more fiber than you do.
Shut up, dude. I know. I just want to fucking diss them like I'm a fucking Hollywood elitist that doesn't know.
Oh, okay.
You know? Like, who cares? They're in Oklahoma. Like, they're voiceless. You know what I mean?
Anyway. Yeah, 1/5. It's cool. Or 5/1. It's cool. Just, you know,
which usually
what they
contains
do with the
commercial
land and how
space
they
for
get the land
parking,
and what they do
known
with the people
as
that was
Type
on the
1.
land. That's the problem.
The light frame wood construction, flat windows, and paneling around the building are all ways to build as affordably as possible.
And that means you're able to build more affordable housing. I think a lot of the time people don't understand that in order to get affordable housing, the actual components of the building have to be cheap to develop and to construct.
The results can be bland
So I
and
agree
look
with her.
artificial,
It's just about how
but
you
that
structure your
authenticity
business
problem
plan
is
and
an
how you
old one.
market it, right?
In this book, The Invention of Brownstone Brooklyn, Suleiman Osman writes about the iconic brownstones of Brooklyn, a design that today is widely considered to be deeply
So sick.
authentic to New York. But in the 19th century, compared to the mostly wooden homes that predated them, critics actually dismissed brownstones as modern and artificial.
Oh my God, is this video gonna fucking make an argument about destroying the brownstones and building fucking 1+5s on them? Jail. Literally fucking jail, dude. Throw them in jail. Throw the people. No? Okay.
They called them out as products of the mechanical age, poorly built and subject to decay, with a dehumanizing.
Bro, I don't know what your brother has told you, but that man is a Republican. My brother that I've lived with my entire life. Murat seems like too much of a Republican to be anywhere close to a leftist. My brother that dude, parasocial relationships. I love this, dude. I love getting to a degree of like parasocial relationships that where you think like you know my brother better than me from a 5-second interaction that you didn't even have, like not even a real interaction. Like, that's insane, dude. People need to fucking chill.
Monotony. Sound familiar?
Comments in a lot of those TikTok videos, they say things like, oh, it looks like mass-produced, they look phony. I mean, that's literally the exact same language that was being used in the 1900s to talk about the brownstones.
That building we mentioned earlier in Camden, New Jersey, was built using low-income housing tax credits. It has 245 units geared toward seniors and families making less than 60% of the area's median income. It's easy to see why the construction of affordable housing like this is a good thing. But what about the new market rate buildings that service middle and higher income people? They've come to symbolize displacement, or the idea that existing residents could be forced involuntarily to move out, often for reasons like rent increases or eviction. Since developers like to build in places where prices are already rising, new buildings tend to correlate with those increased rents and displacement. But a growing number of researchers have tried to find out whether these new buildings are the cause of displacement. They were testing the demand effect, or the idea that the new buildings increase demand for the neighborhood, which in turn cause rent hikes that force people to leave. But the research suggests the opposite. An overwhelming...
I'm an architect. This is lip shit. It's about building more profitably, maximizing the land investment. It's not about affordability. Yeah, for the record, maximizing land is, in the eyes of liberals, the only way to create affordability. That's the point. That's what liberals believe. So you just said this is lip shit. And then you described how liberals believe you can maximize affordability by maximizing the usage of the land. Even the fucking luxury condominiums are still built as cheaply as possible. There is no structure that is built expensively on purpose. It's still built cheaply as you can fucking make it. else want some? I just banned a 2-month subscriber for the record. Like, I will fucking destroy you. I do not give a fuck. I will destroy your family lineage, dude. I will curse all 7 generations of your family. Fucking do some dumb shit in my chat.
Supply effect, where increasing the supply of new buildings, even if they are market rate, made housing less scarce and decreased rents and risks of displacement, especially in the areas closest to the new buildings. New housing freed up space within a neighborhood for new residents to move in without taking up existing homes. And it also meant when they moved from their past homes, they freed up housing units in those neighborhoods as well. But here's the thing. Less displacement was happening near new construction, but it didn't necessarily mean less gentrification was happening, because gentrification and displacement aren't the same thing. While displacement happens to people, gentrification happens to a place.
However, one of the top affordable housing developers in the country, a lot of these are built for government-issued tax credits that banks tend to buy around 0.75 on the dollar in exchange for equity. Also, there's prevailing wage rates on almost all of them, which severely impacts costs as well in good ways as people are paid well, especially in California. Mass 2019 paper they briefly showed did not, in fact, show this. So she just said gentrification does not equal displacement, and then basically fucking proceeded to describe exactly what do you call it? Exactly how gentrification does engage in displacement, and then said no, but like in the normal market, okay, in the normal neoliberal or in the normal liberal understanding of capitalism, what is supposed to happen is the new units are going to open up all the old units, because all the people that are making more money are going to want to move into the new units. And then that's going to create a system where the older units are available for all the poor people. And because there's more units now, there will be, there'll be more supply for the increased demand. And then also on top of that, that will create a system where like your prices will go down, your housing prices will go down, except that's not what happens. That doesn't happen. Just like when people say like UBI is going to be a fucking a way to just like feed your landlord extra money. Because landlords just increase without any sort of price control mechanism. Landlords will just increase your fucking increase your housing price, your cost of your housing, no matter what, based around like how much you can pay, how much people are willing to pay.
Past homes, they freed up housing units in those neighborhoods as well. But here's the thing. Less displacement was happening near new construction, but it didn't necessarily mean less gentrification was happening, because gentrification and displacement aren't the same thing. While displacement happens to people...
You want to know why housing, food, at least like some level of housing, some level of food, basic necessity coverage, okay, and also healthcare are all human rights and should not be considered a privilege, and that like other commodities that you consume, you can use like a market style system, but these commodities, these things that we see as commodities that are necessities for survival should not be considered that way, because of yet another concept that they teach you in micro and macroeconomic principles when you take introductory economics courses, called inelastic demand. Okay? Inelastic demand is the reason why healthcare cannot be a for-profit institution. It cannot be a for-profit industry, because no matter what you raise the price of insulin to, people are going to do anything they can to fucking purchase it. Okay? Because if you don't have insulin, you fucking die. And the same goes for housing as well. Okay? because no matter how much housing costs, like people are either going to die in the fucking streets or they're going to have to find a way to pay it. There's a shelter. It's a necessity for survival. Now with food, luckily we don't really do that. America, one of the greatest things that America has done is learn from the mistakes of previous forms of governance, and maybe the Great Depression as well. And it's figured out that as long as you fucking keep, and this is a Muradist theory, by the way, he calls it the bread price theory. Okay? Food prices are kept low. Agricultural production is heavily subsidized and centrally controlled, for the record, even though it is market-based. It is like fucking straight communism level controlled by the federal government. Okay? But they have realized that as long as the fucking food prices are stable, as long as they are relatively affordable, as long as they're relatively stable and people can, you know, continue eating fucking jalapeno poppers, okay? Then people will not revolt. And that's true. But the really fucking, not really, it is 100% part of the reason why it is impossible. Like, part of the reason why you rarely ever see revolutionary sparks in a country like the United States of America is because of, obviously, the wide-scale destruction of any sort of labor movement, regular lobbying of the government to eviscerate any sort of working-class organizing movement or anything like that. But also on top of that, they kept them well-fed. Every single instance of revolutionary action has only happened in the aftermath of people starving, okay? If you can eat enough food, if you got nuggies, dude, if you got fucking jalapeno poppers, if you actually have fucking food on the table, the likelihood that you will revolt, the likelihood that you will recognize that you've been fucked over is minimal. It's true. So America does one thing very well, and that's keep food prices stable. No matter where you fucking go. Now, having said that, we don't see housing in the same way, and we don't see healthcare, or the America, like housing and healthcare are two of those inelastic demand sectors that, for some reason, the American government can get away with. Like fucking keeping the way that they keep it, like not low cost. Part of it is because there's a finite amount of land. We produce an abundance of food. We don't. I mean, we kind of have an abundance of housing as well, but there's only a finite amount of land. Part of it is because of zoning constraints, as someone in the chat also pointed out too. And the other part of it is because, you know, people want to live in these nice fucking neighborhoods, like urban environments where all the jobs are. And those places still have a total, like there's a finite amount of space that you have. Okay? With healthcare, it doesn't matter. You could just like die, e-beg on the internet, and it's fine. Like, people just don't see it. Biggest issue is buying homes from lower class families just to tear them down and build this shit. Even if it's affordable housing, typically it's only a few units out of the hundreds. Yeah, that's true. That's another huge problem as well. But once again, I consider it fucking disastrous. And horrible that we refuse to recognize. We refuse to even see inelastic demand, a term that they fucking, you know, neoclassical economists recognize, talk about regularly. And and refuse to implement that. You refuse to use that in any of the conversations we talk about where we're talking about housing or healthcare.
Gentrification happens
Or
to
food.
a place when an area experiences demographic change, typically going from lower income tenants to higher income ones, shown here in the darker green. Over time, demographic shifts in the neighborhood could still occur, not because existing residents were displaced, but for other reasons. Maybe people decided to move to more desirable neighborhoods, or some passed away. And the research suggests when that happens.
Yeah, this was a fire tweet. Everybody wants to blame BlackRock. No one wants to blame low supply, low mortgage rates, and the enormous demand for starter homes.
Residents were more likely to be replaced by richer people, meaning gentrification was happening, but without forced displacement. So to reduce both displacement and gentrification, you need more market rate and affordable housing, like that building in New Jersey. Affordable housing, along with policies like rental assistance, preserve income diversity, making sure that those with lower incomes can always live in a particular neighborhood.
I love that she said, like, you know, gentrification would not be causing displacement if there was both market rate housing, which is like, you know, the luxury condominiums, okay? Let's call it what it is. And also affordable low income housing sprinkled into it. But that's exactly what's going on. That's literally how they build in New York. That's how they build everywhere. The entire problem is that it's never fucking affordable housing. It's like one fucking affordable housing unit for 10 luxury housing units that you just hide by saying it's market rate. Okay? What is market rate when the market is completely fucked? And also, you say it's not forced displacement. Well, what happens to the fucking old family that's been living in that same apartment? What happens to the old lady that's been living in the same fucking apartment for years and years and years? Okay? And then they no longer can afford. There's no rent control, so they no longer can afford that apartment now. Like, they don't want to leave, but they have to. Oh, well, it's not forcible. Like, what is it? Just it's only forcible when you rip the old lady out of their houses? Like, is that the only time when it's affordable?
If there is a scarcity of a product, we know this in every market. When there is not enough of something, the only people who get anything are rich people. And so you have to make sure that there's enough for everyone at every level.
Dude, I love this. I fucking love this, dude. This is awesome. It's literally like a talking point. It's awesome when your argument is like the best way to deal with gentrification without displacement is by making more expensive housing for the rich people to move into the more expensive housing. That's fucking sick.
But there's one very big obstacle to building housing for everyone, everywhere. Wealthy neighborhoods across the US are really good at blocking new housing developments. Take a look at this map of New Haven, Connecticut, compared to the nearby, wealthier town of Woodbridge, Connecticut. When we take a look at local zoning laws and where multifamily developments are allowed in these areas, there's virtually no land in Woodbridge zoned for them. Single-family zoning laws block the vast majority of apartments or affordable housing in this area.
When you have political power concentrated in the hands of very few wealthy homeowners and they say we're not going to allow housing here, of course there's going to be an unequal distribution of housing.
In 2020, after a 4-unit multifamily building was proposed in Woodbridge, a group of residents even created these flyers saying, "Do we want this next door?" pitting single-family homes against multifamily buildings. And this kind of conflict...
Dude, this is straight up. This is Dave Chappelle all over again. I feel stupid, but I don't really understand the problem with this video. The problem with the video is that they're making gentrification sound good. It's like a YIMBY video that is like off its fucking rails because it refuses. When you're talking about gentrification and you refuse to talk about like the actual consequences of gentrification, the negative impact of gentrification, you know, displacement, and you totally avoid displacement, the displacement counter argument, and hyper focus on you know, a delusional liberal theory of like supply and demand economics that will create a system where the market will behave in the way that it's supposed to, in the way that you read it in fucking books, and that as long as there's new housing available, then magically the housing prices will decrease. It's not true. That's never happened. That's never fucking happened.
You're a hater, dude.
But it's not. But it has not happened. Why has it not happened then? When will it happen? One day, I think. Literally said there needs to be enough housing for everyone in every income level in a given area. Yeah, except we already have fucking expensive housing units. We already have enough luxury fucking condominiums. The problem is we never actually, and she's justifying that. The problem is we never actually fucking build affordable housing units. Like, we don't. It's always market rate. It's always market rate. It's always market rate. And she's also saying that you have to have expensive market rate housing so that rich people move into the expensive market rate housing and move out of those other previous older apartments that will then be given to the people that need that older apartment complexes. Except when new market rate housing comes into town, and by the way, market rate changes, it's constantly going up. When new luxury high-rise condominiums get built, half of them don't even get filled ever because it's an investment vehicle for foreign investment and just like wealthy investors regardless. Okay. And then the other half that does get filled, let's say those people actually left their old apartments, but those old apartments are no longer at the same price point that they were at. Those old apartments are now, the prices of those old apartments are now increased as well. Because new market rate housing has made the neighborhood more expensive, has made the neighborhood a better neighborhood to live in. So now the landlord that sees that will then turn around and increase the fucking prices of the rental property that the older person left. It's basically a liberal way of saying trickle-down housing, a concept that has never worked and a concept that has not panned out at all. Okay. And she's just they're basically saying like, oh no, it will work though. Like it hasn't yet, but it will fucking work.
Dude, I feel like your takes on the Vox are very aggressive.
Get closer to the microphone if you're going to talk shit.
I said your takes on Vox are very malicious.
Malicious? He said aggressive first. Now he's like switching up on me.
I am, yeah.
And he's saying malicious, aggressive, malicious. What's aggressive and malicious is trying to justify a concept that has historically never fucking worked out in the form of trickle-down economics, but planted into the housing market to justify
I feel like you
gentrifying
took a lesson
and displacing
about
people.
architecture and like house construction styles, and you like took it to a whole other level.
I mean, I don't give a fuck about like the way these houses look. Let's be real. I don't care about that shit at all. I don't
disagree with you about gentrification, but again, this is just a tool, right? It's a method. It's not necessarily the way you build a house doesn't necessarily, you know, dictate how you price people out. Just saying, like, don't hate on the gentrification buildings.
How would I not hate on the gentrification buildings? Like, of course I'm going to hate on the gentrification buildings because it creates displacement. Do you like seeing homeless people? Is it fun?
That's a trick question. I can't answer that.
What? Is it sick? Is it dope? Because like that's what happens. The number one reason for why people are housing insecure.
So here's the difference.
Is because they're
I'm down to build new buildings, but I'm like, hey, we should build like cheap ones too for like people who are, you know, unable to afford the more expensive ones.
Yeah, but like every fucking new building project is actually expensive market rate luxury condominiums.
Yeah.
And the trick to get around the zoning, the upzoning restrictions.
Bro, we watched the same video together.
Okay.
I know
but that's not from this video. What I'm saying is just from reality as well. The trick to get around that is by saying, "Oh yeah, we'll put like some affordable units in this building,
like 20 miles away."
Yeah,
in
exactly.
An empty lot.
Exactly. And
we'll
then
just zone it for.
And you're not doing that. You're not actually building affordable units. We never build affordable units. That's the fucking problem. Not just structural or engineering difference in the buildings, a different utilization of the land, one that excludes the working class. Fabian Simplica says, bring me on the stream. I can STEM lord him. Master's degree to master's degree.
My degree means nothing, dude.
In this situation, yeah.
Happens everywhere, from Woodbridge to Soho to San Francisco.
If speculators are going to buy up 10 million in real estate, isn't it better if it's half of one floor of a skyscraper than a whole neighborhood street? Okay.
I don't know about that one, dude.
Okay.
I think you took a couple of stretches there.
That's the issue is that's the argument that they fucking use. And I say no to both. We're going to fucking build a skyscraper. You better make sure that a gigantic chunk of that skyscraper is affordable housing units.
I feel like it's kind of like the argument how a couple of years ago, like the whole like Oscar so white situation where they're like, well, you know, only 13% of the population is black, so just not making that many movies. Like, I feel like it's kind of like that where you're just like expecting people to, you know, disproportionately be able to afford, you know, housing. Where
Yeah, and we can't, and that's precisely why there are so many homeless people in places like California, because there is a finite amount of land here, and adequate city planning needs to factor that in. Adequate city planning
like
would
equality versus equity.
I mean, the difference between equality and equity is fucking stupid because we don't have equality of opportunity. Equity is supposed to be the equality of outcome. Versus when Americans talk about equality, they're talking about equality of opportunity. Except we don't have. Oh, 5 still.
Wait, this is what happens when you eat at your desk. You get flies. Anyway, back to the video.
There are enough houses in LA to have 0 homeless. Okay, that's not true either.
Sure, yeah. Did you rent all of them and give them out for free?
Like that's not true either. Look, there is. I say that too all the time. Okay, there are enough housing units available in like even the Bay Area to house the entire homeless population in California. Okay. Except where are those houses? Like, and you can't really do that either. I know that reappropriating the available vacant homes to ensure that people are living in places, to ensure that homeless people are able to be housed is one of the many measures that you need to do. But another thing that people don't realize is that like, some of those vacant units are in bumfuck nowhere. There are a lot of places where they're super far from the heart of the city, where a lot of the homeless people are priced out of the housing market. You know what I mean? So there's still a gigantic problem with that as well. Like, I'm not saying that there isn't a finite supply of land. There is. It's true. Do you support making more public housing? Absolutely. I am 100% an advocate for social housing. I'm 100% an advocate for, first of all, immediately converting every fucking motel, every single motel that has been bankrupt, immediately convert them into permanent housing. Not shelters, permanent fucking housing for the homeless population. I'm also an advocate for building affordable housing units, or like mixed income housing units are definitely important. But the unfortunate reality is people say mixed income housing and then use that as an opportunity to do development projects that are market rate housing with a little bit of fucking affordable housing units sprinkled into it. Oftentimes, as Marat pointed out correctly, like in New York, for example, in a totally separate part of the fucking, in a totally separate part of the city. Okay? So when people say mixed housing, what they also need to focus on is like, how are we mixing the housing? What are we mixing?
In some places, activists have found a way to use the language of gentrification against changing zoning laws. For example, in response to a proposed California bill pushing for more housing near areas with transit, including a specific percentage of affordable housing, a group called Livable California said building more housing would add jet fuel to a gentrification crisis.
They see the power of this rhetoric and they are using it as a tool to muddle the debate, to make it seem like building new housing is actually going to create displacement when we know what creates displacement is not building new housing. That's what's so kind of dangerous about this entire debate. We have gotten to a place where the actual policy solution is seen as part of the problem.
This guy said, yeah, you advocate for those things, but what are you actually doing? Have you bought a motel and converted to homeless housing yet?
He's obviously joking.
Fucking own. No, he's not joking. These people literally think that this is like, no, bro. These people literally think that that's like what I have the capabilities of doing. Like they think I can do this. Like I can combat fucking real estate developers or the hotel industry that also partially utilizes like the land ownership that they have as another secondary way of engaging in the speculative market and making more money as well, which is precisely why they would rather not convert any fucking motels into permanent housing.
Yeah, I don't know about this whole motel conversion business. Like, I haven't heard that one.
It's a very successful program that's worked in certain parts of California. The issue is that, again, both developers don't want that, and also the hotel industry doesn't want that either.
What about the market for motels? Like the motel consumers? There's
still plenty of motels. We're talking about the ones that went bankrupt.
Oh, okay.